Bombirdier is one of the most forgotten new Pokemon, and that's pretty much just because it kinda sucks. But I'm gonna use it anyway. It's a flying dark type that has some decent attack, mediocre speed, and no bulk. But it's the only Pokemon that gets the ability Rocky Payload, which gives a 50% boost to all rock attacks. It can set up with Hone Claws, giving it a +1 boost to both attack and accuracy. And then we basically fire off Rocky Payload boosted Stone Edges that benefit a lot also from the accuracy boost. We throw in Terra Rock to boost it even further. And then we've also got stab options with Sky Attack, which can be fired off immediately using the Power Herb item, along with hard-hitting Acrobatics once the item has been used up. It can opt for Knockoff for some Dark Stab, and in general, Bombirdier catches people off guard because no one expects it to really do anything at all. So however you want to pronounce this Bombird's name, aside from the story mode like boss battle, I'm convinced no one even knows that this thing exists, and it's actually kinda cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and show the thing some love today. Now if you're into that kind of thing as well, you should probably hit that subscribe button. It's free, it only takes you a second, you probably won't regret it, and with that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent is gonna go ahead and lead off with the Zapdos. So old Bigfoot over here, it looks like it's a Kanto Zapdos, it's actually Galarian. With the shiny form, actually kind of cool they look like that, but I have myself some chopsticks, and I do imagine they're probably a Choice Scarf Zapdos. At this point, that's kind of my assumption. So they go for the U-turn on turn 1. He's going to break my Focus Sash, which is annoying, but look. Freaking Spidops is here for one thing, in pretty much one thing only, and that's to set up some Sticky Web. And also, maybe, potentially, like, get a knockoff before we die, but, you know, he does his best, for the most part. So I get up my Sticky Web. They are going to pivot into Indeedee. Of course, it is going to set up that Psychic Terrain, blocking priority, but also, more importantly, increasing some damage on Psychic moves. And an Expanding Force absolutely expands my ass right back to the Shadow Realm. So, you know, Spidops does what it does, and now that is going to at least allow me a revenge switch into whatever I want. And I'm like, you know what? It's time to deliver some babies. I'm going to bring in the Stork, and by babies, I mean deliver some rocks on your damn head. And that's, you know, that's what we do. So they are going to switch out Indeedee, obviously probably expecting some type of Dark Stab. They are going to end up bringing in Iron Tread. So first of all, this thing gets caught up in Sticky Web, which is great. I do want to keep the Sticky Webs around. And as this thing does also activate a booster energy, it turns out it's going to be plus defense. So that's going to make this thing a whole lot bulkier than I would like to deal with. Plus, I don't have much to really, you know, touch this thing with. So I go for the Hone Claws. It's going to boost up all sorts of stuff. However, it's kind of in my best interest here to not get a little too crazy and ahead of myself. So I decided I'm actually going to swap this thing out, and I'm going to bring in Banette. Most likely expecting the Rapid Spin here. I can Spin Block, and then while that's all good and well, the bad part is I'm a Banette now. So, I mean, I can't do too much to this thing, mostly because of the fact that it used up its booster energy, meaning I can't Poltergeist because they don't have an item to hit him with. So that is not great. Now, as they go for the Earthquake, I do actually get that Cursed Body, and that's going to allow me to set up a Swords Dance. I'm thinking maybe I can Swords Dance and then Sucker Punch on this next turn as the Psychic Terrain goes away, which it does. Then I'm like, hey, all right, this is nice. So I can go for that Sucker Punch here. With this Swords Dance, you know, they have a +1 defense. It's not gonna do much. So at least, you know, I get a little bit of chip there, but since I was able to Cursed Body that Earthquake, they're forced to go for a Supercell Slam, which we actually live. Which is amazing because now that puts me into Custap Berry range. And that's what this Banette is supposed to do. I can then go first when they're not expecting it, go for a Destiny Bond, and just hope that they kill me, and then I can take it with me. So they do go for the Ice Spinner, and it is going to take care of the Banette, which then, in turn, is going to take care of them. So that's a pretty damn good trade. The bad thing about Banette as a spin blocker like that is a lot of the time, it just doesn't really do anything versus it. People expect a Will-O-Wisp, but, you know. So, you know, with Iron Tread's gone, that opens the game up pretty decently for me in terms of, you know, having the Sticky Web stay around is super great, especially for the bird in the back. So, as they decide to bring in the Zapdos once again, I'm just going to go into Dragalge. Kind of seems like a good middle ground swap in here. I know I can take any attack this wants to throw at me, and I'm just going to go right for a Draco Meteor. Now, I know they have a Chansey in the back who just comes in and sponges the hell out of everything on the special side, except I really would just love to try to get some chip on that Zapdos. It's the only thing not affected by the Sticky Web, and it's kind of just a problem. So, as I go for the Draco Meteor here, they are going to, in fact, U-turn, sadly, and they decide to go into Chansey, who, green eggs and ham looking ass, is, you know, not taking a whole lot of damage from that. So I decided I'm just going to go ahead and flip turn. And if there's anything that I can set up against, it's likely a Chansey as long as I don't get Thunder Wave. So I'm going to go for that flip turn here. They do actually set up a layer of Stealth Rock, which is fine. The flip turn actually knocks this thing to like half, which is actually pretty good. I've got this thing in range to where it can be easily dealt with. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring back in the bird. Bird's like, hey, I thought I was gonna be doing some deliveries out here, but now it's actually time for some rocks to be landed on you damn egghead. So I go for the Hone Claws here. Not sure exactly what this thing wants to do or if they want to swap out, but they actually are, they're gonna stay in. So we're just out here just sharpening our claws and they're just gonna soft boil. Buddy's eating his own eggs, and that's kind of weird. Does the Chansey lay the egg or is he just carrying it around? I have no idea, but he eats it. Now he's back at full health. And I'm kind of fine with that because I'm like, well, at this point, a Stone Edge does a whole lot. Plus, the door is actually open for a second Hone Claws. So now we're just out here honed as hell. And they actually are going to end up bringing in the Arboliva. So this thing, of course, gets caught up in some sticky web. And little Olive fella over there is not going to be having a good time. So I'm able to get up that second Hone Claws. Now sitting at +2 attack and +2 accuracy, nothing's going to miss, which is always good. So now I'm actually pretty free to go for a Sky Attack, expecting maybe a cheeky little defensive Terra. But probably they see after +2, they're not going to deal with it regardless. So I go for that Sky Attack. Luckily going to be able to activate the Power Herb to fully charge our boy and just destroy the shit out of Weird Tree over there. So they are going to get that Seed Sower, which basically just, grows some grass. Doesn't really affect us. We're flying above it. It's fine. And down goes the Olive Tree. So at this point, they decide to go into Iron Boulder. This is kind of a big threat I'm worried about, which is why I wanted to set up at least 2 of the Hone Claws. Now they have the Zapdos, that's a threat, but also the Iron Boulder is a huge threat, not only to, the big old Stork, but also just kind of the entire team. So they are going to get a booster energy attack, which, is scary. However, I am going to be faster here, and I am ready to lay down some damage here and some boulders. So here's the thing. The only neutral hit I have on this is going to be a Stone Edge. And just to ensure that that's going to be able to kill, I'm going to bust out the old Terra Rock, which is not one you see every day. But also, it's going to cover for myself defensively, thinking maybe, if they are able to take the attack and then they try to hit me with a Mighty Cleave, I'm able to live that regardless. So I put the weird, I don't know, the rock thing is like a house on my head. I'm a bird with a house on my head, and you do not want to be on the receiving end of these rocks. But here's the thing, they're actually going to go for a Terra of their own, which is real interesting. I'm hoping they probably expect some type of dark coverage, which I'm not even messing around with that. We're just throwing rocks around. So they are going to go Fairy Terra. So Terra Fairy. Thing puts a heart on his head expecting some dark coverage, but I am just going to go ahead and throw some sharp rocks around because, now we've just got some, included stab from the Rocky payload plus the Terra boost, and that's just able to take care of it, which is solid. Even just spins Buddy's neck around. That's how much it hurt. So that takes care of the boulder, which is amazing, and now we've poked some holes in the squad with the weird-ass bird. So they're actually going to switch into a weird bird of their own. They go into the Galarian Zapdos. At this point, kind of bad news. Now, they obviously don't touch the sticky web, so they are going to be able to outspeed, and they're probably Scarf, and a Thunderous Kick is now going to destroy me being Rock type. So the Rock Terra kind of comes back to bite me, but honestly, I think it was close on a kill roll there, even if I didn't Terra, just being part Dark type. Anyway, regardless, Bombird is able to, poke some holes in the squad, and now we've got a little bit of work cut out for us, but honestly, some huge threats out of the way. So one thing I know that can take an attack from this fella is going to be Dragalge. Now, I don't have a whole lot left that can really deal with this thing, so honestly, this Zapdos is kind of looking like their win condition at this point. So they do just stay in and go for that Thunderous Kick, probably knowing that they can take an attack. I don't take much damage from it. What we do get is the defensive drop, which is unfortunate. Now, after the recovery from the little grassy terrain and a Sledge Wave, I'm feeling like, you know what, I'm just going to stay in here and go for another one. And they're actually going to go ahead and swap out, which I'm kind of fine with because I do have a little bit of a game plan in the back to finish off the match. So they're going to bring in the Chansey, of course, as, a special sponge. This thing takes nothing. I do go for that Sledge Wave, and then I'm like, that's fine. So honestly, I can try to do a couple things here. I can conserve the Dragalge, who we know can take an attack from the Zapdos, but also I've got a little Excadrill fella in the back that's got some tricks up its sleeve. So first of all, bringing in Chansey here is kind of fine by me because that just basically gives me a free swap into the Excadrill, which is great because this little mole is jolly, and that means that if I can get one Rapid Spin, I would be faster than a Choice Scarf Adamant Galarian Zapdos. That's kind of the plan. So I come in, I got my air balloon because it's my nice little birthday party, and then boom, it's freaking Seismic Toss pops it, so the fun's over. But Seismic Toss is fine. I mean, as long as I'm alive, we're in good shape here. I can go for that free Rapid Spin here. And they actually end up swapping. They're probably expecting me to just get some damage with an Earthquake, so they want to bring in the Zapdos immediately. which is fine by me. Without any Stealth Rock up, this thing is able to come in for free, but this Rapid Spin is not quite enough to be able to finish it off. So now we actually have the little standoff where if this thing is Jolly and Scarf, it is going to outspeed here. So now we just got to go ahead and run the risk. I do actually outspeed. More than likely means it either was not Scarf or just Adamant. So luckily an Ironhead is able to finish it. Down goes the Zapdos there. And now they've got 2 Mons left. They have the Indeedee along with the Chansey. And this Mole is in a great position here. Comes in looking thick as hell. We will obviously be able to outspeed, and if this thing is not invested in any type of bulk, like if it's more of just a speed and special attack kind of fella, we will be able to finish it off just with that Stab Earthquake. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And it does turn out that Indeedee is not any bulk investment, and that's going to take care of it. So down goes that fella. All that's going to be left is the Chansey, and that's basically like a nice little late breakfast for you boy. We're like, these green eggs and ham are actually looking pretty delicious, at least the green eggs at this point. So I go for another Earthquake here. There's egg yolk splattered all over the damn place, and that's going to be a dead Chansey and the end of the game. So I thought that was just an interesting match, quite an interesting late game there with some setup early. And that's going to draw us into the next match because, yeah, hey, if you stuck around this far, go ahead and do me a favor and hit that like button for me. It really does help out the channel. The YouTube algorithm likes it or whatever. And, you know, with that, let's go ahead. Let's get into the next match. All right, so this time my opponent is going to lead off with what looks to be a sticky web setter of their own in the form of a Bombirdier. And I decided, you know, expecting that to be the lead, I'm going to lead off with friggin' the Hip Hop Anonymous. And the Hippo is here to take no nonsense from little Bumblebee. So I'm actually just going to go for that Stealth Rock, fully expecting them to just sticky web turn 1. Turns out they're actually going to go for the Switcheroo, which is not expected. First of all, it gives me a Choice Scarf, and I'm a Scarfed Hippo, which is not ideal. And they take my Smooth Rock, which is kind of rude. It's like, hey, I was hanging on to that cool rock, and now they steal it from us. So as I set up the Stealth Rock, I now have to get my big hippo ass up out of here because I am obviously stuck into clicking Stealth Rock. And I imagine surely this thing's going to go for the Sticky Web here. So I decide I can actually get a pretty decent opportunity to bring in the Bombird here, as they are likely just going to go for that Sticky Web, and Rockefeller is here to do some rocky nonsense. So they do go for that Sticky Web, which, you know, is kind of fine. I'm not super necessarily worried about it. I do have Excadrill with the Rapid Spin in the back, and Sandstorm is doing its thing. So at this point, it's actually an interesting matchup, right? Because this thing obviously has the coverage with Moonblast, but I actually can take one of those. It does about 80% to me, so I figure I'm going to go for a Hone Claws, thinking that they're actually going to swap out here, kind of banking on the swap. I go for that Hone Claws, and they are actually going to end up switching here. Now they're going to bring in the Great Tusk. You know, Buddy's Tusks are looking pretty average if you ask me, but it is probably going to be in here to try to get a Rapid Spin off, but I'm going to get that Hone Claws, and now this fighting type elephant bastard is in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I do take some Sandstorm chip. The Sandstorm is actually interesting on this set, and you'll kind of see why later. But at this point, I can just essentially go for that Sky Attack, and I am going to be faster after the Sticky Web. So I freaking cloak myself in a Harsh Light, gain an extra set of wings, and then boom, pop a Power Herb. And yeah, that's basically, it's like kind of the highest damage you can get in terms of some Flying Stab. So that's going to take care of the Tusk. I do get a crit, don't believe it mattered. But that does take care of it. It probably was some type of defensive Great Tusk, but after a Hone Claws, pretty sure it's just dead. So now they can go into whatever they want, and I was kind of hoping for anything other than Dusclops, because first of all, I can kind of bluff the fact that I've got the dark coverage, but this is mostly fine. Now, this bulky ass Ghost is mostly just here to go for things like Will-O-Wisp, and as I already used my Sky Attack, I'm thinking I'm just gonna bust out the old Rock Terra at this point and just try to get a pretty hard-hitting Stone Edge. You can always run the chance of the Stone Edge to crit as well. I know it's going to do a lot of damage, but it's not quite going to be enough to fully grab the kill here. So I'm going to go for that Stone Edge. We do connect. Luckily, you still actually can miss with just one Hone Claws. After 2, it's guaranteed to hit, but we do not get the crit, sadly. And they are going to be able to get up the Will-O-Wisp, which is annoying, because boy, would it be nice with a little Willow miss there. If that Will-O-Wisp misses, this thing actually has a huge opportunity to kind of sweep the whole match, as long as Cinderace isn't heavy-duty boots. So we do take a little bit of burn chip at this point. Now, good thing is about being rock type, we don't take Sandstorm, but also we get the special defensive boost that comes along with that. So as I'm able to finish off the Dusclops, it's a nice little 2-hit KO with an Acrobatics. Now they can switch into whatever they want. And the reason why the Terra works nice in terms of, you know, boosting damage from the Stone Edge, and also with that 50% specialty defensive boost, makes me look a whole lot better against this thing. In comes big old Long Neck, And I'm thinking, surely they're gonna Thunderclap here. That's what these assholes do, Thunderclap with that priority, basically special type electric, Sucker Punch. I'm gonna Hone Claws expecting that, but they're not gonna do it. I get that Hone Claws up first, shows they do not Thunderclap, and instead they're gonna go for the Calm Mind, and that's why this thing is such a massive threat. Calm Mind paired with that crazy Thunderclap is a huge problem. So it is gonna take some Sandstorm damage, and at this point, surely I've got to just get an attack off here. Now I'm burnt, I have 2 Hone Claws, so I'm kind of, you know, not super great on the offenses, but still with Rocky Payload and a Terra Boost, I'm going to be able to do a nice little chunk with a Stone Edge. Once again, also still running that risk of getting the crit. So they do go for the Thunderclap this turn, and that's extremely clutch. We're able to barely live just because of that special defense boost from the Terra Rock. We do land the Stone Edge, and we do not get the crit, not quite enough to be able to take care of it. But we did so much chip damage to this thing, that's going to be so much easier to deal with this thing. So we do take some burn damage, which we actually are going to be able to live. But sadly, the priority with that freaking Thunderclap is annoying. Now, I'm going to go ahead and not let this thing die for no reason, because I can actually switch pretty easily, kind of freely into the Hippo here. If they want to go for that Thunderclap, means they're not going to be able to set up another Calm Mind, and then I should be able to take like maybe a Draco Meteor, but for sure a Dragon Pulse. So as I bring in the Hippo, I'm Choice Scarf and under Sticky Web, so this is just the most confusing Hippo of all time. But I do get back up that Sandstorm, which has some synergy in the back with things like the Carbink as well. So they Thunderclap the air, and at this point all I have to do is get off an Earthquake and hopefully be able to deal with the Raging Bolt here. So my assumption is they probably don't want to waste that Calm Mind setup that they've got, and I'm just going to go for that Earthquake. It's kind of just the only option I've really got here. I do not want to be swept by this damn thing. So they go for the Dragon Pulse, which we can luckily just barely live, and then an Earthquake is going to be able to finish it off. So Raging Bolt, huge threat out of the way, and now they're down to 3 Mons left. This is a pretty close endgame, and it can definitely be anybody's for the taking. So they have the Revenge Switch on whatever they want to bring in. Turns out they are going to bring back in the Rabombi. And so looking at this endgame, what they've got left is going to be the B. They also have a Cinderace along with the Galarian Slowking. So I actually have a pretty decent opening to try to finish the little late game sweep with the Excadrill once again here. So I'm actually just going to swap directly into the Drill because I realize there's not really much that this thing can do to me. More than likely just goes for the Moonblast here, and I really want to try to cover for if this thing does Quiver Dance. So they go for the Moonblast. I'm able to take that nicely, of course. It does, in fact, drop our special attack, which obviously doesn't matter, but more, it does it pop my air balloon. So, at this point, what's funny story, this is actually supposed to be a Sand Rush Excadrill. Turns out it's actually the wrong one, and so that means this thing can outspeed me, sadly, and go for a Stun Spore, which I always forget freaking exists, so they paralyze my ground type, and then I just can't move because I got fully parried. So my plan is essentially to get up a Rapid Spin here and be able to outspeed the rest of their squad, and then I just destroy both Cinderace and the Glow King with an Earthquake. So this time they are going to be able to outspeed. They actually end up going for the switcheroo. They probably forget that I popped my air balloon, so instead of them getting my item, they just give me a Smooth Rock for pretty much no reason, which is like, hey, that's fine. I got my rock back, so hell yeah, I'll be able to give that back to Hippo. And I do go for that Rapid Spin, which gets rid of hazards, but also gives me a speed boost. Now I'm paralyzed and kind of fast. I can luckily finish this thing off with another Rapid Spin. That's going to bring me back to being a pretty fast mole. So they go for another Moonblast here. Essentially just going to sack off the Rabombi, and I do get off the Rapid Spin here. So now, Cinderace still sadly can outspeed here. Freaking Stun Spore is incredibly annoying. So more than likely they are going to bring back in the Cinderace, which is what they're going to do here. And we actually also notice this thing is not wearing boots, so it takes a little bit of that Stealth Rock chip. And if I could get off an Earthquake here, we would be in great shape to kind of just clean the matchup. So I'm just going to go for it. There's really no other option here. They are going to outspeed because Cinderace is way too damn quick. It launches a flaming soccer ball at my face, and that's a dead mole. So, yeah, it happened. So Pyro Ball at this point, I know that, hey, here's a guy that can actually take an attack, and that's going to be the Banette. Banette actually looks pretty good against both of the mons they have left. I can surely take an attack, and a Poltergeist should be able to kill the Cinderace, but they are going to actually end up going for the U-turn here. So, good thing for me is they only have one option to go into, and Galarian Slowking, as long as it has an item, is not going to enjoy what it's coming into here. So, they do get that U-turn off, and Banette is actually kind of clutching it out here a little bit. He's actually been able to do some stuff. So, they do go into the Galarian Slowking. He's like, hey, how's it going over here? Hopefully nobody smashes me in the head with my own Black Sludge. But guess what? I get that Poltergeist off. And that is going to just straight up knock the thing out. Especially defensive Slowking dies to the freaking Banette, which is sick as hell. And now final mon is going to be that Cinderace. So one thing is I am probably going to die to a Pyro Ball here, but also I can get a Sucker Punch off and maybe clutch it out with the Banette just as a little bit of icing on the cake, and that's kind of the plan. I'm going to go for that Sucker Punch. I'm thinking maybe it grabs a kill here. It does not. It gets kind of close though, so, you know, live. But the Flaming Soccer Ball is going to kill me. I was really hoping for being able to live that and then get off the most satisfying endgame Sucker Punch, but it does take care of me. Now, the one thing is I actually disable it with Cursed Body, which is kind of hilarious because now I can go into Ariados and I don't have to worry about being killed by a fire attack, but then I'm like, actually, I'm just a Sucker Punch kind of guy. I have the Sucker Punch on this thing anyway, so I've got that priority. They have no other option than to just go for any attack here, and a Sucker Punch is going to be able to finish it off. So that's going to be the end of the match. And this is the full team effort. Everybody being able to help out is going to result in the dub. So that is going to be the end of that one. And with that, I got one more match for you because, you know, why not? So this time my opponent does have a pretty interesting team. It looks fast, it looks scary, but the plan remains the same. Try to get the Bombird to do anything, and let's get into it. I will say, while this bird, it is hard to get like an entire sweep with, you can get it to poke some holes in this squad, and honestly just getting Rocky Payload to pay off is kind of fun. So my opponent, they're going to actually lead off with the Typhlosion. They probably expect the Spidops lead, which is kind of obvious as a sticky web setter. And I'm imagining they're probably Choice Scarf. Most Typhlosions are with Eruption, but they actually are going to go for the Flame Charge, which is bad news because now they break my Focus Sash and they get a whole bunch of speed. Basically, it's like their Choice Scarf is built in, and I am a Stick Bug who is in danger. I don't really have any reason to switch. I mean, this thing, it could be conserved. I decided to stay in case they want to get crazy. They do not, and down goes this Spidops. But I did get up my Sticky Web, which is cool, and I mean, not that great. But at this point, I can freely swap into Dragalge. Probably should have just hard switched into this thing earlier, but I mean, it's fine because with Assault Vest, I know that I can take any attack this wants to throw at me, and then I actually do a huge chunk with a Draco Meteor. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. They do stay in. They go for an Infernal Parade, and that does nothing to you, boy. We absolutely eat that for breakfast. And then a Draco Meteor actually kills. Adaptability Dragalge with an Assault Vest is one of my favorite mons to just slap on a team. It always fits on super well, and I feel like people underestimate the thing. So down goes the Typhlosion out of the way early, which is great. Now they're gonna end up bringing in Cyclizar. So one thing about Cyclizar, I know that this boy be spinning. I'm kind of expecting a Rapid Spin. Worst case scenario, instead they might Shed Tail. But expecting the Rapid Spin, I'm kind of like trying to conserve those webs as much as I can. I do go into the Banette here, but they actually just Shed Tail. Somebody chops off his own damn tail like a savage, and it creates the decoy, now able to bring the substitute to whatever the hell they want. Honestly, pretty damn broken move, if I'm being honest. But they decide to bring in the Hisuian Samurai. Now this thing is a bit of a problem. Luckily for us, however, it does get caught up in the sticky web, so its speed is a whole lot more manageable. But at this point, I decide, you know, I'm gonna try to get as much damage on the sub with a Sucker Punch as I can, because I don't have a lot that wants to switch into this. You know, I kind of get destroyed by this. So I don't break the substitute with the Sucker Punch there. Allows them to then Ceaseless Edge. I was kind of hoping to be able to take at least one of those, and yeah, I can't. I just die. So the Banette often not as bulky as you would hope, but I do actually get the Cursed Body on the Ceaseless Edge there, which is kind of cool. So, you know, they do get their one layer of spikes up, which is fine, but I've got a couple different options here, and I decide it's probably my best bet, or kind of the only real thing I can do here is go into Excadrill. And while, you know, I do run the risk of being destroyed by some Water Stab, I kind of have to commit the Terra here. So Air Balloon's not going to save me here. I do have to go for that Dragon Terra, just so that they don't have the super effective water hit. And I can actually break the substitute with a Rapid Spin. Considering I got a little bit of chip on it with a Sucker Punch, a Rapid Spin should be enough to do it. So I'm going to go ahead, have to commit the Terra on the Drill, and now we're just looking goofy as hell with, you know, the Dragon on us. So surely this thing is going to go for some Water Stab. I actually am able to outspeed. I can go for that Rapid Spin, just because obviously it was caught up in some Sticky Web. The Spin is going to break the substitute, which is nice, and also gives me a little extra speed boost as well. So you know, the Drill is just getting fast as hell out here today, just spinning around and having fun. So they do go for the Razor Shell. Luckily, we can barely take it. It actually does do over half with the crit. But we can take it because we're Dragon Boy now, and it does also drop the defense. I'm like, what else the hell are you going to get here, buddy? Now, the Samurott is actually not in a position where an Earthquake kills, but I kind of just need chip on whatever the hell I can get. So I decided to just go for that Earthquake. Excadrill kind of did its job, and they're actually going to end up swapping into the Sandaconda here. Definitely a pretty bulky ground-type fella, does get caught up in the Sticky Web. The one thing about Sandaconda, at least immediately when I see this, I'm always kind of worried that it's going to be like a loaded dice Scale Shot set. And if it is Scale Shot, it makes sense that they would bring it in on Dragon typing, but I just decided to go for another Earthquake. It's kind of a roll on whether or not it kills. It does not, so unluckily for us. It does stay alive, but we got a whole bunch of damage on it, and it also reveals it is going to be Citrus Berry, which is honestly better for me than if it were loaded dice. So they're actually going to end up going for a Glare here, and it's actually an interesting Glare. Freaking Excadrill is just over here getting paralyzed by random-ass means today, and that's annoying. But luckily, I actually can still outspeed because Sandaconda's slow, and I have a speed boost, and Earthquake kills it. So down goes the Anaconda, which is great, and Excadrill once again is proving why this buddy it fits on the Dam's team. Especially, I've got like a Zard on this team. I'm trying to keep Stealth Rocks away and stuff. And at this point, as they decide to go into Glimmora, I actually do still outspeed because of Sticky Web, and I have a Rapid Spin and an Earthquake. I'm thinking, hey, sick, I might get a kill, but of course it's Focus Sash. So not only do I just pop the Pinata and get, you know, the shittiest candy ever, aka, you know, the Toxic Spikes on my end, they actually are now able to go for the Stealth Rock, as they're playing towards kind of the late game there with like my sweepers being both flying types. Not really ideal, but luckily for me, I can actually just kill it and get rid of the rocks, but instead I get Parrot. So the full Para comes and hoes me, and a Sludge Wave is going to take care of the Excadrill, and once again hoed by the Para, but it's fine. We actually did a nice little bit with the drill, and seeing an opening here with the Bombird is actually, it's looking relatively nice. I'm running out of options here, but honestly, Rockefeller's ready to come in and be a Rocky Feller. So while I should be faster than this thing because of that Sticky Web, there's a couple things I don't want it to do. And first of all, I don't want it to Mortal Spin away those rocks, but also I don't want to die to a Power Gem. So rather than going for the Hone Claw setup, I actually am just going to go straight up for an Acrobatics. I know it's just at 1 HP anyway, and that's fine. So that takes care of Glimmora, and now, honestly, Bombird has a position here without even a Hone Claws to be kind of a menace to the squad here. So they're going to go into Jolteon first, and luckily for us, with that Sticky Web drop, I should be able to outspeed, and now it's time to just throw some rocks around. I'm going to go for Stone Edges and just Rocky Payload stuff and just see, you know, kind of what this thing's made out of. Now, it turns out they're actually going to go for a Terra. They go for the Terra Ice, which kind of feels like a damn gift at this point because obviously, you know, I mean, Terra Blast Ice is good enough. It's electric type, so I don't know what. The Terra Ice is sweet because now I outspeed and the Stone Edge just kills it, which is actually amazing. I get the crit. It does not matter at all. And with a crit, it actually kills it even without the Terra anyway. So Jolteon just goes down regardless, looking ridiculous with a freaking snowflake on its head. And Bombird is like, hell yeah, let's see how far we can take this shit with the crazy bird. So now they go back into the Cyclozar. Of course, with Regenerator, it did get some health back after the Shed Tail. And so if this thing is anything other than a plus speed nature, I should be able to outspeed. The bad thing is Cyclozar is quick as hell, and it's going to be jolly. And it does outspeed me, but luckily, I'm actually barely able to hang on from the Dragon Rush, which is amazing because now the door is open for the nice little Sky Attack. And that is why we like to keep that Sky Attack tucked in the back there. He's going to come in clutch with some big damage. Takes care of the friggin' Bikel, the Bike Lizard. And down it goes. So now final mon is going to be the Samurott here. This thing is unfortunately still at full health, but luckily at least it is under Sticky Web. We're going to be able to get an attack off, and it's time for just another Stone Edge. See if we can clutch it out, and as the Stone Edge comes through, we don't get the crit. It does do a whole bunch of damage, but it allows them to finish me off with a Sacred Sword. So down goes the Bombird, but hey, we once again poke some holes in the squad with it. And all I got to do is essentially just, this is why we kind of conserve the Dragalge, because we can definitely take any attack this thing wants to throw at us. A Ceaseless Edge is definitely going to hurt, but if you're wondering when the last time Dragalge gave a shit, it was never. He's literally never has. So I'm actually going to end up going for the Sludge Wave because I do not want to miss a Draco Meteor. As they go for the Ceaseless Edge, they actually missed that, which is actually pretty damn clutch because now that Sludge Wave is going to be able to finish it off. And that is going to be the end of the game. So I thought that was, once again, an interesting one. It turned into a long video, but hey, if you stuck around this far into it, I do appreciate you a ton. And thank everybody for watching the vid, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.